originals, episode 20, A Closer Walk with Thee. This is a really good episode because it actually had a lot of the characters do a lot of interesting things due to the fact that Kieran died, and it brought everyone together in a way that they wouldn't be together in any other circumstance at this point in the series. Marcel was able to come back into the town at least for 24 hours because Klaus gave him a chance to give his respects to Kieran as well as Cammy, and with his character dying, it allowed everyone to just see that things aren't just wars. We can band together and appreciate this one person who, if it were anyone else, it probably wouldn't be the same thing. Everyone mentions how when someone dies, we give our respects. That's what Genevieve said. I think if it was a different character, not nearly as many people would care. Kieran was the human faction leader, but he was a real well respected leader because he treated everyone equally. He may not have exactly trusted everyone, which makes perfect sense, but he showed people that he can be a good leader, he can be a strong leader as a human, but he can be respectful as well, and he will stand up to people that he may not be stronger than, like Klaus, but he won't just be run over, and he won't be run over because he won't let his people be run over. And he was just a good character that everyone respected, and I feel like that's why everyone was able to have their ceasefire for a time. And we really only got to see the head faction leaders. We only get to see Marcel. We don't see any of the other vampires that have been really reintroduced in some of the episodes who are fairly important now. But we get to see the leaders. We really get to see a lot more of the new human faction leader, which I guess isn't saying too much because it was still very little in this episode. But in any other episode, she's only in one scene, and then she was at least in two. But she's just carrying on being the very suspicious character. We don't really have too many answers. The only thing that really happened is she sort of threatened Haley, and she made it seem like she has really powerful friends, which I'm sure she does because she owns a casino and she's super rich. She even had the bodyguard who just like gave her keys and she walks into her house. She has money. She has a casino. She has power through her money. And she knows that Kieran had that key because it was something that could take on the supernatural people in the town. And it's really interesting to see what that's going to be. And I love the fact that Cammy and Marcel, they in a way work together to find out what this secret is. And Cammy doesn't tell Marcel, and she finds out that her brother was actually meant to be brought into the supernatural world to begin with before he was hexed, and she feels that that makes it her responsibility. And I love that because it's going to give Cammy a position in this show where she isn't just manipulated, or she doesn't have to just suffer because something happened to someone she loved. Sadly, she's on her own now, but this sort of unfortunate flow of things has put her in a position where she's wanted by a lot of different people, particularly the human faction. I don't know if the wolves or even the other vampires know about it outside of Marcel, but it puts her in a very interesting position, especially if what was on that chest or the little box is incredibly powerful. It could just be a secret to the actual weapon itself, and we might get to see that within the next couple of episodes when she tries to sort of sneak off without being followed and gets to what this ultimate weapon is. But it's going to put her in a good position of power even amongst the humans, and it'll be good to see that where she has the power to protect herself and to threaten other characters, and she's not just the human character who suffers throughout this series, because that's really what she's been the whole time. She was manipulated in the beginning. She was sort of the love interest, and she has interest in both Klaus and Marcel, and then it's just over and over again she suffers. And then of course she's lost Kieran now, and she's been placed into this position of power where she's wanted by the human faction, but that woman is clearly way above some of the things Klaus would do, so she's not just going to be like, I'm threatening you now. But you can tell that she's a smart character, and even though she was clearly just harsh about it with the way she put things about how she took over, she's smart enough to know how to weave her way into getting some of the answers, even if she's not going to get them from Cammy. So it's good to see that Cammy, through an unfortunate amount of events, has finally been put in a position where she holds a lot of power. And it's clearly a lot of power because it can take out the supernatural people, and of course the humans want it. So it's good to see her in a position of power, and I'm curious to see how that develops once she gets accustomed to whatever this specific power might be, because I assume it's not magic, because otherwise Kieran wouldn't really be able to use it himself. So that just makes me even more curious as to what it could really be, if it's some sort of magical thing that actually does work with humans as well as witches, or maybe only for humans because Kieran knew a certain witch. But we'll have to wait and see how that storyline plays out. But it was good to see her get a prominent position in the show where it's not just sad for her and she actually has power. And of course, it'll sprinkle in here and there because she won't just tell people, like, hey, I have this. But at some point, it'll be revealed to people in some crazy manner. But she's gonna have power behind the scenes for now, but eventually it'll come to the forefront, and it'll probably end up being one of the main storylines either by the end of this season, which I'm not sure how many episodes we have, but everything's pretty much wrapping up, so probably not in this season, and most likely it'll be one of the huge storylines within the next season. But it was a great episode. One of the things that surprised me actually was the fact that Michael being in this episode wasn't nearly as big of a part of the episode as I actually thought it was going to be. He was really only in a couple of scenes, but he was sprinkled in here and there because it allows the writers to put him in the end of this episode where, of course, he's able to find a nice little witch who we all know is Davina, and he talks to her and he says, I can help you get rid of Klaus and you can bring me back to life. I knew that's what he was going to say because it was the only thing that made sense. But his torturing of his sons as well as Haley and the baby wasn't as prominent as I thought it was going to be based off of the trailers. It was just sprinkled in here and there, and it's going to be a much bigger plot point in future episodes. But it was good to see him in there. I really like Michael as a villain in this show, and I really like him because he's the villain to the villains, and that's just something that's not really done too often, especially with the fact that the sort of triangle that he has with his kids, well, it would be a triangle now since Rebecca's not exactly in the show at this point, but the sort of triangle that he has is really interesting because every time he interacts with them, it's like Klaus is just Klaus. He's the bastard child who Michael wants dead. But Elijah and Rebecca, they're the ones who he still cares about, even though they try to protect Klaus. He still tries to give them a chance over and over again. And he probably won't when he comes back, for the season finale or whenever he comes back in this season or next season. He most likely won't do that again. But I always love the dynamic between their characters because they clearly have enough family problems between the three originals, and then when their father comes in, it just makes so many more problems because he's still trying to convince his other two children, his actual children, I love you guys, but just back off so I can kill him and just let this go. So I always love that dynamic where they have to deal with their father who just really wants to kill their brother, but he will kill them too if they continue to get in his way. So I'm excited for him to come back because he's also just incredibly powerful. I still forget exactly what he is, but he has the super speed and super strength, but he's not a vampire. He's just he's almost like the first hunter when you think about it, but I don't think they consider him that. But that's pretty much what he's like. I believe he's a vampire. I can't even remember because it just never makes sense to me. But I think he might be a vampire hunter who is a vampire. I don't remember. But regardless of any of that, I do like his character a lot. So I'm excited for him to come back. And it was interesting to see Haley have to actually confront this character. And it was cool because it showed how much content he had for the baby. He didn't even give a crap about her. It was just, this baby came from my bastard child, it's got to go. And that was pretty much his only mindset: kill Haley, kill the baby, because they're involved with Klaus. So it'll be interesting really when he does come back to life and he tries to take out all the characters in that compound, but he'll have a lot of challenges to face, I'm sure, and some might even come from the witches, which he sort of had to go up against with Genevieve actually saving Haley. and then trying to plead with the ancestors not to have to kill the baby because it would make her feel horrible. And then they nearly killed her, and she sort of changed her tune. But it'll be interesting to see how things play out once he comes into play, because she'll have to save them because he'll be trying to just kill the baby before it's born, and they have to wait until the baby's born so that they can kill it, and then it's desecrated or whatever they say into the earth, and then it'll feel their power. So the dynamics are really going to change, and she could get killed off because the ancestors won't understand that, but odds are they will, and it'll be another weird power play dynamic going on where suddenly all the witches have to protect the vampires and take out Michael and stuff. But great episode. Can't wait to see how things continue through the rest of the season. Like I said, I'm not sure how many episodes we have, but if Michael's coming back, I think things are really going to wrap up to an exciting conclusion for the season finale. And I honestly, with however many episodes we have left, just guessing, I would have to say that he's going to come back and he won't be defeated by the end of this season. And he might not come back until the season finale, which I think would actually be really good because it would allow them to explore some of the other options, like Klaus actually working with the wolves. And as Marcel mentioned, the full moon is coming up, so it would be good if all of that storyline played out with the warring factions and that actually ends and someone comes out on top. And it might not even be Klaus and Elijah, it could even be the humans, but who knows. And then in the very season finale, very last episode, then Michael's finally reborn again, and we have to wait until season 2. But who knows how things are gonna play out, because this show's just all over the place and crazy in a very, very good way. But comment below, let me know what you guys saw this episode, favorite parts, least favorite parts. Definitely tell me, what do you guys think of Michael as a character? Do you guys want him to come back, or do you guys want him to stay dead? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.